And this is going to be now KT piloting yet another similar, well, somewhat similar, but they have massive amounts of poke. Lots of poke, lots of hard engage. Now, interestingly, a poke team composition versus Dynamics. I mean, Dynamics is very well suited to just run right into it, but it has one shot in order to do it, which is going to be inside of the Mantra Shield. Karma running forward with the Aatrox and the Olaf. And this should be a very interesting game, to say the least. We'll take one last look at the team compositions here, as it's going to be Aatrox, Olaf, Karma, Aphelios, and Nautilus on the side of Dynamics. This is very red. This team composition is only seeing blood. It wants to just go forward. It really peaks around 2.5 items, and then it really relies on Aphelios and Karma, the other lovers duo.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not canon, but
you didn't know about them.
Yeah, you didn't know about that.
It's like the next season, you know?
As Bard, Ezreal, Corki, Rek'Sai, and Jace is going to be on the other side. If they go the distance, the amount of poke that they put out before a fight is even allowed to conduct itself is just insane.
Yeah, it's just like the last Team Dynamics comp, except instead of Yasuo, they have Ezreal. So, and even Rek'Sai can throw out a little bit, at least more than the Trundle of what Dynamics had last time. So you're absolutely right. And it seems like the name of the game nowadays is for the blue team to run at the enemy blue buff.
You know, honestly, I think that KT has a much better draft. I just don't trust them to play it out.
Yeah.
Especially with their unwillingness to play a slow and controlled fight by the previous game #1, and the fact that there's the Olaf component, I mean, threatening soul point early. I'm going to predict Dynamics to win this one.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Even though I think KT's draft is, I would much rather have it. And there is one of the best skins in the entire game. Get yours today. Cosmonaut Bard.
Yeah. Is it Cosmonaut Bard?
I have no idea.
I thought it was Astronaut Bard.
It can be.
What's the difference between a Cosmonaut and an Astronaut? All right, well educated over here on the desk. Thank you, LS. Yeah, it's great, especially because of the little aliens that follow you around. That's the best part of it for me.
There you go.
Everything else about it, it's cool. I like the big megaphone thing he's holding. But for me, it's really the little aliens that follow you. That's the best part, for sure.
Well, I really like the skin. I think that it just really captures the essence of what you're trying to achieve on Bard. And we got a bit of a trade going on down here. And aiming is just going to try to sustain up inside of the laning phase. The thing that we want to pay attention to early on is Olaf versus Rek'Sai, at least inside of the clears. Guger landing yet another hook, but while Tushin and aiming have lots of sustain, and Ezreal has lots of UFO candies that he can end up eating. Nautilus and Aphelios not as fortunate. Olaf is just going for the full clear. Rek'Sai went for a 3 camp into bottom, so Bono looking to sin a little bit.
I mean, it is
a bit of a sinner on our hands here.
It is Bono.
Now, here's the funny thing is Duck Dom and Guger could just cheat a recall. And this whole thing would just be foiled. But they're not going to do that. Instead, it looks like they're going to move over to the right-hand side, get a ward onto the Skull Crab, and they don't achieve anything with this line. So they get some vision on the Crab, but it's not as winning as it could be, especially given that Ezreal has teleport, and you would want to put pressure on that teleport. So we'll see what happens. Olaf's going to come over, get the right side Scuttle Crab. Rek'Sai going to get the one on the left-hand side, and now aiming and Tushin, I mean, they're in a really good spot in the lane. And this entire situation just could have been avoided with a simple lane manipulation tactic.
Yeah, but we don't manipulate lanes here in the LCK.
All right.
So it's not going to be available for you this time, Mr. LS.
Karma's doing a really good job in the mid lane. Kuzan is up quite a lot in the CS department, still has all 3 corrupting potions.
Yeah.
Just doing a very fantastic job. And that's a lot of damage put out by Aphelios. And not a whole lot is really going on here. Aiming, just gonna eat some more candy.
Yeah, the UFO candy. I'm not sure how that tastes compared to the other candy. I'm a fan of the Cocoa. I feel like that revives a little bit more HP than maybe some of the other skins. As, okay, Tucson going for a little bit of a walk here. And he is barred, so in he will go. And he's waiting for the stun on Beyond. So that was actually really smart there to wait because Gugar had used all of his cooldowns. And somehow in the top lane, they were able to punish Sohan and make him flash. And now they're going to try to go for a little bit of a dive here, but Rich able to flash away. Bono,
the
he
outplay!
flashes in, and now he's looking for that knockup, gets the auto, and now Bono, he's waiting for that tunnel. He doesn't have it. Quite a while here. Still on the run here, as this should be a kill being given over to Rich. As he's trying to chase down the bug. And down it will go. Waste as much time as possible, but the failed dive means that Rich is being crowned as the Aatrox King.
Bumblebee really just adding in the flavor there. As, let's take a look at this. Very hard trade by Aatrox. Manages to get the flash onto Sohan and have an immaculate lane state. Ends up coming in, he crashes everything. Takes out all the minions, and the reason that the minions are so big is because if he auto-attacks Rek'Sai here, all of the ranged minions in the cannon starts hitting Aatrox.
Yeah.
So it's very good on dives. Then he just chases down Rek'Sai here. But a little solo Q tip for people is if you pile up a surplus of minions, you can walk underneath someone's turret and low, mid, even high MMR sometimes. They're completely oblivious. They'll auto-attack you, and all your minions will get pissed and just start hitting them, and they'll lose 200, 300 HP. And if you do that and you're cognizant of it, you can intentionally just walk underneath the turret like you look like you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
They hit you thinking, what are you doing? And then the reality is, what are they doing?
Yeah, the leveling process there. Iron or Challenger, that's really the question that you always have to bring into your solo queue games. And the entire time, okay, we got a little trade here with the root coming on in. Tucson is barred, though. Best support champion in the game. Gonna get away with not even a scratch as Bono. We can say the same as him, or for him, as he's just gonna get dunked down. And Rich is once again quite scary. Rich pretty far behind on CS, but still very aggressive.
So this is one of the issues, is that all of the lanes on their own accord are completely fine. The Ezreal, the Brad, the Corki, the Jace up in top lane, etc. But in order to make ganks work with a Rek'Sai, you have to really be doing your lane manipulation. KT is not going to do that. So Olaf is going to get the first early dragons, almost guaranteed, and then it's going to go to the third dragon, which is generally the tipping point against Olaf team compositions, where champions that scale, quote-unquote, come online and can start to resist or have a team fight. But in this case, the Rek'Sai is just getting completely dumpstered in the early phases of the game. I don't think that we're gonna get to that point. Come with me, come with me, come with me, come with me.
Kuzan, really smart.
Bottom Corki.
Yeah, really smart play by him to flash over the wall with the tether once you get that down. Kuzan, actually, the last time we saw him in the LCK, he was, I believe, on Hanwha Life, and he did not look great on the Karma. I think he got 0-4'd really early on in the mid lane. Kuzan is a different player now. You have to respect his ability, as he did just show there. And once again, earlier on the Corki. That was a really early Rift Herald take, by the way, by Beyond to... He says, okay, you can gank, you can dive. I have 70 CS, I have all the objectives.
He's 2 levels up right now over the Rek'Sai. I mean, Aatrox is about to get ahead of Jace, and when this ends up happening, it's just a nightmare. And also, with all the auto-attack reliant champions for KT, I mean, Ninja Tab Eyes are just so good. So, Olaf's probably going to get them, Aatrox already has them. Nautilus can afford it, probably as his boots of choice as well. And things are very rough for KT when they fall behind. And we are going to see that Soul Point come online very early. This is going to be a 22, 23-minute Soul Point.
Yeah.
And I don't know how KT is going to manage to resist it, especially not with how they play. Goodbye.
Oh, Bard this time around. He used his Q early, and he's not close to a wall, but he is going to get away because he did have his flash. And even dodges that. Tucson just laughing in the face of Duckbomb. He's like, yeah, sure, buddy. Okay. Remember, I'm Bard. I am Brad the Chad. I don't die. The amount of times that Brad has taken damage and engages in that bottom lane, and he's still 0 deaths. It's pretty impressive.
Well, 30 seconds until the Cloud Dragon comes up, and pretty good that they didn't manage to, or, well, pretty good for KT. They managed to live there. That would have definitely converted into a turret plate, a very good reset for Aphelios. And yeah, I mean, you can see the itemization. Athene's comes online so early, and this is part of the oppressiveness of Karma, is that Athene's, in synergy with Ardent Sensor and other items, allows Karma to hit item breakpoints faster than other champions, but her effectiveness with those items is so oppressive and overwhelming that it feels very imbalanced, and this is going to be a really interesting dynamic in stifling that third dragon team fight that Ezreal Corki would hope to be able to achieve. And Infernal is coming up, which is very scary, but at the same time gives KT the most hope. Mountain would make their poke, everything completely invalidated. The resistances, very, very problematic. Corki doesn't build any sort of pen. Ezreal doesn't get pen. So a Mountain Soul would have just probably spelled lights out. And Infernal still gives them the options to try to poke back against their opponent, wither them down, and then pray they get a kill.
Yeah. Pray to the League of Legends gods that they would pick one of those up. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see if they do. So far this early game, the Rek'Sai pick is looking even more foolish than we had imagined. I mean, if the dive works out, and maybe the early level 3 works out, maybe we'd be singing a different tune. But then again, part of that is how the enemy plays as well.
So I mean, Rek'Sai's a sinner, no matter how you want to paint her as a champion. So the unfortunate thing is, from the moment that the game starts, Rek'Sai has pressure on her in order to do something, especially with the dynamic of the jungle matchup and the way that the early and mid game is likely to end up going. But it's very hard with these lane matchups, and so Bono finding himself in a very rough spot. I mean, he doesn't even have jungle item, and things are just looking very, very rough at this current point in time.
Yeah, it seems like they caught on that the Olaf was coming in with the Rek'Sai from a sense, and look at that. Look at the enemy jungle right now. There's 2 control wards in there. Aatrox is dominating the top lane, even with Rek'Sai quote-unquote pressure, which, I mean, it's hard to even call it that at this point. And they're just having a ball up on the top side of the map. Team dynamics having fun. And the bottom side of the map, you know, they're going even. The early game, you know, was relatively even. The game 1 was a little bit different. It was totally different lanes, so you can't really compare it. But they're putting on pressure. They're doing pretty well up against aiming Tucson, so gotta hand it to them as well.
And Kuzan looking like he's gonna be able to at least get 1 turret plate here. With that, that was a eardrum rupturing cue.
Yeah.
That was what that was, yeah.
it puts on the pressure in a not-so-direct way, if you will.
Correct, yeah.
As DUCTOM, welcome to Brad's world, as he's going to flash on in. The knockup, though, and the teleport coming in. Cougar taking a huge amount of damage, though, from aiming, and is able to flash away from that one. Another TP coming in here from the Corki, as everybody wants to get in on the action. And at the end of the day, it is just the 1-for-0 in favor of KT. And they're just going to be able to back away after all of that.
So it costs them a lot to make that happen. At the end of it, all that they get out is basically Nautilus. And it's not even like it's going to come for free. They're going to be slow getting back to the lanes, which means that they're losing XP and minions, gold as well. So you have to factor this in, you have to deduct it from the gain that they just got. And at the end, I mean, this is very painful. It's going to mean that...
I don't know about this, Rich. He does not get the red, and he might just be punished here. But, oh, Karma trying to get in there and help out, but he just got baited hardcore by Rich, as now they're chasing down Cougar here. Still going one direction is Rich. He really does not want to back down in the face of multiple enemies. But at least the Rek'Sai did die.
Rich was a HOTS player, not a singer. Aldous.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Wrong One Direction.
Yeah. Got confused there for a little bit.
Yeah, not a big deal. Yeah, not a big deal.
He's gone Death Stance first. And, you know, he's going to be a menace in these team fights, as he's already 2-0-1. So he's feeling the winning feels.
Yeah. I mean, the third dragon's up in 30 seconds, and KT should not be in a position to get it. Now, let's take a look at this. Brad uses his ultimate, locks up Aphelios, but Bono not able to get anything. Bono even ends up having to flash away. Teleport comes in from Jace, teleport already channeled by Rich, and then for some reason, Corki says, you know, I want to have fun too. So he teleports down as well. Rich being a little bit overzealous here, trying to get the red, completely uncontested, actually ends up going over to Soan. Kuzan comes in with the shield and the tether. Cougar lands the pull onto UCal, loses about 70% of his life before Tushin just gets comboed by Aatrox. And as we come back into live...
Oh, Soan. If he lands that Q, it could have been lights out, but their flash is just as good.
And yeah, there's a pink ward, and this is interesting. Now, this is often the pattern that happens in Olaf games. The thing that I'm most worried about is you can see the items on Ezreal and Corki, and even Jace, are not really completed. So, at this point, normally against Olaf team compositions, you have your core items in and ready, and you can actually take this contest. This is like an opening in chess almost, like a natural flow against Olaf that will often happen when team comps draft against him. So, here we are at third dragon, but it should go Dynamics' way, and this is really scary because this is that 22-minute soul point.
Yeah. As, okay, we're going to try to Brad it up here. Let's see if he can land that stun. He's not going to be able to. And a big knockup comes in from the Nautilus and decides that, you know, we don't want to really take this fight here in this position. We want to get back to lanes and do that, as Aatrox looks like he was pushed out of lane here. Sohan on the Jace is going to be able to take down this turret pretty much for free there.
And, well, Kuzan looking for some action against Sohan, not going to be able to find it. They lead 1K, but they have the scariest threat that they could ever want right now, which is that Infernal Soul coming up soon. Bono going to come in and actually manage to get the red buff. Take that away from Dynamics' jungle.
Yeah.
And Bono's just basically trying to find a way to remain relevant. Now, a lot of people might be scratching their heads wondering, well, what is Rek'Sai's real purpose in this team composition? And you know what? I don't have an answer for you. I actually don't. So in the later stages, we will, you know, you could apply the reality denial text to Rek'Sai, and it would probably make sense.
I like where you're going with this. But maybe they are not so happy with the way the Rek'Sai has been going with this. I mean, if he was 2-0-1, there might have been better pick potential in the mid game onto squishier targets such as the Aphelios. But once Karma gets 2-3 items, which by the way, he's already on 2.5.
Yeah.
You're not just going to be able to, jump onto an Aphelios with lifesteal and assassinate him.
I really like what Karma's doing too. Rather than going for the death cap, acknowledging that the next fight is do or die. Trying to get as much power as possible in her items in order to have it available at that Infernal Soul point. Most CDR, most AP probably in value out of items that she could probably get, and that's going to let her be that much more oppressive. I think a lot of people would maybe just turn their brain off and go, you know what, Rabadon's death cap here. I mean, I've seen it on Pro Pool.
I'm very far ahead. I need AP.
Yeah, I saw it on that one guy's,
I was watching a YouTube video,
yeah.
and there were a lot of capital letters. I just had to follow his build. Yeah.
But very good itemization here coming out by Kuzan.
Yeah, it's not something you see very often in the LCK, to be perfectly honest. So Kuzan coming in has an awesome MVP or POG performance on the Corki. Now he goes on to a more supportive pick, but he's also winning in different ways. As we'll have to wait and see how he performs here around the next Infernal. That's really going to be the main sticking point in this game. Either KT gets it and they hold on in this game and they try to scale with their insane poke comp, or Team Dynamics lock it down and they might just be able to win the game from having a 22-minute Infernal Soul before KT's comp can get online. As the mid lane has swapped to the bottom lane now, and DuckDom says, well, I've got a little bit of poke of my own.
Well, Bard ultimate comes out. Still have a minute and a half before the Infernal.
It's actually a really cool combo if they had landed it and timed it better. Just Bard ultimate into two-shot barrage plus Corki, big one, just straight in your face immediately. Squishy targets are at about half health, especially if the Karma's not there. So we'll hope that those CDs are back for the next game, or not the next game, the next fight.
And 50 seconds until that one is going to come up. Zeal is completed for Aphelios, and this is really going to be the impactful fight. Now, interestingly enough, Olaf is actually going to be gated on items, and so at least in terms of on-field battle stats, Rek'Sai is not as far behind as she should be. Corki is basically at his strongest point that he could ever hope for right now. And this is everything. So this is, interestingly enough, for Dynamics, probably even, it might even be justifiable to get an Elixir for this team fight.
Yeah, I don't think that would be such a bad idea. Although they could say, hey, even if we give one Infernal, maybe we can sneak a Baron and then we get the next one and we get Infernal Soul anyway, if they don't necessarily want to force a fight. But let's see how they want to get in on this. The burst damage already coming in onto the Infernal as the steal is the Aatrox just shooting it in the back with this sword. Unbelievable, as the smite is not going to be on point. And down will immediately go Ezreal. KT, they are just routed here because they do not know what to do after that failure. This game might just be over from here on out, guys, as you can see Beyond is trying desperately to zone away Brad the Chad, who's really the only one doing anything on this KT comp, as that is a disaster for KT. Team Dynamics with Ritz coming over and getting the backstab on the Infernal Drake.
I mean, that is one of the worst ways to possibly lose this game, because KT were really close at maybe being able to bring it back. And at this point, I mean, I just can't, I can't envision a world where Dynamic, unless they manage to actually kick it away here on the back.
Oh, they're keeping it alive, and they have another TP coming in here. They should know that this is restarted. Does KT now have the damage with the Aatrox frontlining? Look at that AoE coming in. That is 200 years worth right in your face, as down will go 3. And aiming is going to be the Quadra here. Can we see another Aphelios Penta? Please come back, Sohan. Maybe we can get this champion nerfed if you do. But it's not just quite going to happen as they wipe them at the Baron. They pick it up, and Team Dynamics might just win here in 24 minutes.
73,239 days, Valdez, since December 11th, 1819.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
That's when Aphelios was born.
Oh. Thank you for that tidbit. That's why you're the analyst.
You know.
And how about another kill for the Aphelios? Might as well. It's not a penta, but it's a quadra. It's good enough. 24 minutes. And Team Dynamics say, welcome to the LCK.